Roll call, please.
Mr. Shi?
Here.
Mr. Mohan Patel? Ms. Peng? Here. Ms. Conway?
Here.
Dr. Chen?
Here.
Ms. Podofsky?
Here.
Ms. Madiker?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Here.
8 present.
Thank you. Opening statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies of which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board of Education administrative offices. Copies of the notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger on January 5th, 2021, and June 30th, 2021. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. So it's a summertime. We have a combined meeting. So we're going to go to the closed session first. So Ann?
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Attorney-client privilege discussion regarding student matters, litigation brought by former employees, ETEA grievances, PERC, unfair labor practices, and personnel matters. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay. Mr. Patel and Mrs. Conway.
Okay. Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Madiker?
Yes.
Ms. Podofsky?
Yes.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. So looking at the agenda, we are probably going to be in closed session about 45 minutes to an hour. So we'll come back and to go to the public session. Thank you. Okay, so we are coming back to our open session. Can I have do I have a motion to reconvene?
Motion.
Okay, all right. Mr. Patel and Mrs. White, all in favor? Okay. All right, so before we open up for any discussions or anything, so I'd like to have Dr. Bragan and Mrs. Cluck to go over the resolution items before we open up for any comments. Dr. Bragan?
Sure. The first one under administration is a resolution to approve the on-site clinical services for our PATH counselors, our partnership with Rutgers University. The counselors provide a very valuable service, which is probably even more valuable this year in light of some of the increased social emotional learning needs of our students. So you'll find that on the agenda. You'll find a few resolutions for ADA 504, compliance officer, special education medical initiative, the SEMI coordinator, and membership of the law enforcement unit. All those were swapping out Dr. Conklin, who left our district to become a superintendent, with our new assistant superintendent for special services, Dr. Tom Toohey. You'll also find in there our nursing service plan for the year, which is an annual update. There's also a resolution on there requesting that our current governor consider remote instruction for some of our students during this time of pandemic. Presently, as you are all aware, I think you are aware that that's not an option. There's no remote instruction for our students as there were in the past due to the pandemic. And unless the governor changes that, we will be in-person full instruction come September 1. And Obviously, people are aware that there was an Executive Order 251 the governor put out a few weeks ago mandating mask wearing during school, when school's in session, for everyone, visitors as well as instructional staff at that time. And this resolution was put on the board, on the agenda for the board to vote on, and we would send it to the governor's office. And, you know, at the end of the day, they determine what we do. As a school district and as a school superintendent, I take direction from the governor. I take direction from the New Jersey Department of Education. And we also have to follow all the guidance set forth by our local health departments as well as the New Jersey Department of Health. So that's where we are with that right now. Under curriculum instruction, you'll see the curriculums that were either revised or the new ones for this year. And there's several that are on there that we would normally do in our 5-year cycle, as well as some of our newer curriculums that were all reviewed with our curriculum committee. The program of instruction for the year we approve annually, as well as our school hours, which haven't changed from our traditional school hours that have been in the past, our curriculum guide, and then you'll find our professional development documentation where we have one staff member going out. And then under pupil services, our out-of-district placements, and our establishment of a new program, an autistic program at one of our schools that in the past did not have it. That's all I have on those, Mr. Shi.
Thank you. Mrs. Clerk?
For finance, we have the approval of the minutes from last month, from July 2021. We have the board secretary report, as well as the investment report. And some of the other finance resolutions include the transfer of funds, bid results, classroom usage, contracts, meal prices, donations, non-public school security aid, obsolete items, the bills list, and the transportation report.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now I'm going to open up the board members. Do you have any comments for Dr. Bragan and Ms. Clark for any of the items that's for the resolution? Anyone?
I have some comments, but Dr. Bragan, are you going to touch base on the whole reopening thing? Because I have been in that area. So if you want to speak everything, whatever is missed out, I will cover after that.
What was it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Patel, it was hard to hear with the fan.
Yeah, so the reopening part.
Oh,
For
reopening
the
is,
governor's
yeah.
resolution as well as reopening. So if you want to go over that first.
That's not a resolution. We can discuss that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll wait then.
we can open up at towards the end. We'll open discussions.
Okay, then we'll wait for that.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
My only question is, I realize we have to follow the governor's rule, and we follow CDC, we follow health department, but considering our population, do we have good plans in place should we be ready for this change, that change, and another change, is my only concern, because we don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, but in 2 weeks we're going to have to do something, and I'm just looking for you to reassure both me and everyone else in the world that come September 1st, we will have whichever plan works for that day.
So I'm sorry, let's just stick with the resolutions only.
Isn't that one of the resolutions?
No, it's
to send the letter? And
There's
so
a
it's
le-
regarding the
send
letter?
Yeah, but that's just for hybrid, that's all.
For hybrid?
Yeah, that's what we're saying in the letter. The letter's for hybrid.
I thought it was to allow for more remote.
No, hybrid. That's for unvaccinated kids. We can talk about the others when we get to the open discussions.
I'm sorry?
We can talk about the others and then when we get to the open discussions. Sorry.
I just have one question, Jerry.
Yes.
So item number 11 under finance resolutions, approval of substandard classrooms. What's the definition of a substandard classroom, Dr. Bragan?
That's the chair's.
Yeah, there are some learning environments in classrooms that don't meet the exact parameters by the DOE that we've used in the past, whether they're small learning environments for perhaps a speech therapy class or some other things that don't need necessarily traditional classroom sizes, but they're appropriate for the use they are. Annually, we get approved for those. You'll see on there, there's also a resolution about some of the other classrooms, like I mentioned, and if you have a new program, like we have a new self-contained program at, I think it's Herbert Hoover Middle School, that has to get approved by the DOE. It's pretty much standard procedure what we do on an annual basis.
No, thank you.
All right.
One more thing, the item number F. So is it going to be a form of a letter, or what's the plan, Dr. Bregan? For the
Governor.
recommendation to the governor?
Well, if that resolution is passed by the board, we would forward that letter to the governor's office. That's what we
Okay.
would normally do.
Okay, great. So because I did have conversations with some members of the Assembly, Senate, State Senate, and some county commissioners, I understand that not everything is in that direction, but I'm fully supportive of this resolution. Obviously, we'll have a vote after this. But at the same time, I would request to escalate this part if we pass it today.
Okay.
Because that's, the time is of essence over there.
We could definitely do that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just one more thing I wanted to point out. Item number 18, is there a typo in the amount of donation? The last word, the last number at the end of the sentence. Item number 18,
On the finance?
yes. Donation John Adams Middle School?
Yeah, that's $10,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And this is like, looks like $10 here.
Good catch, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. So I just have a quick comment. We are approving the meal prices for next year, but it's free, right?
Yeah, the meal prices we're approving there are for staff members.
Oh, okay.
So it's not free to the staff members for breakfast and for lunch, but it is free, as the board's well aware, for the entire school year for our student, all of our students that wish to have breakfast and lunch at school.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we'll open up for public comments. Resolutions only. Resolutions only. Yes, all the way in the back.
Venkatabandi, Edison. I think,
Venkat.
yeah,
Move up.
okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. The resolution request, it seems that you guys are requesting only for the unvaccinated students. And my sincere request, and in fact, some of the other parents, I think the parents and students should be given an opportunity to choose the hybrid, because there are, for a class we have around 25, 28 kids, and if we don't maintain social distance and having a mask throughout for 5-6 hours continuously is pretty much challenging. And having a hybrid would allow the kids to choose remote for those parents who wants to be, and people like me who wants to send my kid to the school in person will be sending my kid to the in person, so that it will be a win-win for everybody. So I truly appreciate if you guys can make that change, that letter, that not only for unvaccinated students, I think those parents and students who are not comfortable coming in person should be given an opportunity for the remote. That is one thing. And the second thing that I also would like to thank some of the board members for speaking to the higher officials and everybody. But I think I was surprised Mr. Biral Patel has mentioned he spoke to assembly people and others, but he failed to talk to Mr. Governor, whom he met on August 15th. And it was posted in one of the groups, and he tried to threaten me, my friend saying that, oh, he's going to sue me. I think, Mr. Biral Patel, I'm telling you, I'm all yours. Go ahead and send your legal letter suing, and I'm going to counter it for you. You failed an opportunity to talk to Mr. Governor, who is vacationing in Italy, and now you're talking that I spoke to this person, that person. I think I made a personal mistake of supporting you for nomination, and I would like to see how you're going to win this time as a candidate. Thank you.
You want to, Dr. Bregan, you want to comment about the possibility of amending the resolution?
Yeah, I would, with that resolution that we were going to send to the governor regarding the remote instruction possibilities for unvaccinated students, we could amend it to include all students if the board so desires. So if the board is okay with that, we will change that to all students, and then that will be what the board will vote on. Does that meet with the approval of the board president?
Okay. With that said, I think we need to go through the process. Can we have a motion to amend the resolution to include the other students? Okay, can we have a motion to amend the resolution to include the other students?
Motion to amend.
Okay. Biro Patel, anybody do have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mrs. White. So, yeah, we'll wait till everyone's there, we're gonna vote on it. Yes. Yes, so right now, the resolution has been amended, the motion is to amend the resolution to add the other students, okay? So if we're adding the other students in this resolution, but we will be voting on later when we actually get to the voting session. Okay, we clear? We good?
I'm sorry, I'm just confused. I'm looking at this request, and it just says remote, where you're saying that it's saying hybrid. I don't see the word hybrid anywhere.
It says remote.
And
She's right. That's fine.
Oh, you're right, okay, I am sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. So for, how
And
should we
that's-
amend the resolution then?
To say, instead of unvaccinated, just say students.
Students to go remote, to,
The resolution want me to read?
yeah.
yes,
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools and in light of the prevalence of COVID-19 Delta variant of the virus, the Edison Township Board of Education asks that Governor Murphy consider permitting unvaccinated students to attend school remotely for the 2021-2022 school year until the spread of the Delta variant recedes. The motion is asking for us to remove the word unvaccinated, just remain as students. That's what
Okay.
the amendment to the motion was.
okay, but it's just for remote learning,
Remote learning, does not say hybrid.
not necessarily hybrid.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right,
I have a
Just
question.
yes.
let Carol.
I have a question. It says, considers permitting students to attend school remotely. Now, does that mean all students would attend school remotely, or just whatever parent decides on whatever day?
That was the motion that was made, the way I understood it.
Basically, what we're asking is for more specifics.
Well, I think what the board president and I helped work on the agenda, what we put on the agenda was that a request from the board, a resolution that the board vote on, requesting the option of remote learning for students. Initially, we said unvaccinated. There was a request to make it to just all students. So how that parameter works out to who, what, where, when, and why has not been determined. Right now, there's no option for any students to get considered credit for their school day to participate remotely. My understanding of what the resolution reads, how it reads, is that we're asking for permission to have that option. What that final iteration is not delineated in this resolution.
Do you want me to say what?
Yeah, you wanna.
So the way I understood it, Dr. Bregan, just making sure that we're, and President Shi, that the motion that was made to amend the resolution is amending it to indicate that the board is requesting that Governor Murphy consider permitting all students who so choose to attend school remotely for the 2021-22 school year. That's how that's what I heard as the motion. I just want to make sure that you all and the rest of the board are on, that understood that that's what the motion that's going to be voted on to amend the resolution.
We okay? Or still have questions?
So this would be the same as what we had before, right?
Right now, there's no option for remote learning. So we had a resolution that is asking the governor for permission to allow that. And it was initially just listed as unvaccinated, that we would now say vaccinated. If and when the governor granted that permission, I haven't had this discussion with the board, we haven't gone down that road yet, but what I would imagine, if that was an option, we would poll our parent community like we did last year and have that decision made on an individual basis with families, which would then necessitate us deciding how we want to do that in the classrooms. And we have ideas and plans. I think someone asked earlier, but Mr. Shi, so let's wait till the discussion after the resolutions was. Because I think what I'm being asked by several board members, did you mean hybrid instruction? That was not what this says or what we meant.
Okay, so if some people choose remote, they will have a teacher or someone offering them remote,
Ideally, that's what we would.
and not go back to hybrid, pick and choose.
That's ideally what we would set up.
That's why I was confused when Mr. Shi said hybrid.
All right. Sorry?
Understood.
Okay. Any public comments on the resolutions only? Yes.
Brian Rivera, 98 Stony Road. So I was just confused with this entire conversation. So I agree that I'm looking at you want to amend the resolution, but if we're doing just remote, will the kids have an option like they did last year to say, hey, I want to come back and do a hybrid schedule? Because right now it sounds like, and I think this is where the ladies were confused, it's strictly remote. So if I say I want to be remote, that means there's not an option for my child to attend school versus last year they had the option of hybrid. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think the parents should have an option if it's not working well remotely at home, that they still have the opportunity to return to some type of hybrid schedule. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes complete sense to me. The other question I had too were, what were the updates for the nurses' service plan? And I hope everybody's having a wonderful night.
Okay, so the resolution for the remote, Dr. Bragan already stated, so I hope we're clear. We're asking for that option. Right now, it's not an option. Once it's decided, we're going to figure that out, okay? So if you ask me, I prefer hybrid, but we'll work that out. As far as the nursing service, Dr. Bragan, anything you want to add?
No, the nursing service plan is adopted every year. There weren't any updates for this year. What we have to put on file is the doctor's orders and the things that the nurses are permitted to do in each school, and we have to re-adopt it on an annual basis. I did go over it. There were no changes that were substantive or that I noticed, so it's pretty much the same plan as we had last year.
Yeah, I just want to add that we all know that what happened with the pandemic is changing every week, right? So, we'll adjust when it actually comes to whatever we need to do. Depends on what the executive order is or what the CDC guidelines, but, we'll leave that option open. Thank you. Okay, Joyce.
Joyce Ship Freeman, 41 Main Street. I'm still kind of confused with the remote, because I'm an educator probably, because that's why I'm confused. Now, how are we doing school? Do we know up to this point? Because I think school starts in like a couple of weeks, like remotely or in person, or how does this work? Because if we do remotely, do the teachers teach their class and also teach extra? Somebody can give me some kind of explanation for it, because I'm trying to grasp it like everybody else is up there that probably taught before.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to know that.
Okay.
Right now, there is no option for remote. In 2 weeks, on September 1st, the students are going to enter the portals of all 19 schools. And it's going to be a delayed opening as is scheduled on the calendar. The teachers will have their meeting in the morning and school will start on a delayed schedule. What the board has put this resolution forward is asking permission for there to be a remote option. To the governor. The governor has to make a decision and change it, which he has not. If he does change it, we do have plans in place to do something similar to last year, but we would not want it to be a hybrid model. That was very difficult for our instruction and our teachers to cater to students that are at home as well as students that are in the class in front of them. So we would want to structure a model, if it was permissible, if we were able to coordinate it for all levels, and I'm not sure we can logistically with the high school classes, to have students be in a pod that was in person and a pod that was remote. I haven't discussed it with the board. This is the first time that we even talked about this resolution. So While it is only 2 weeks, if something changed quickly, as we demonstrated last year, we will figure it out, we will get it done, we will get the communications out. I have to communicate that to the board first on what that plan is. I'm not going to put a plan out or solicit information from parents at this point when it's not an option. It's not even a discussion at this point. So if I send something out to parents inquiring about would you want your child to be remote or not, they're going to think that that's permissible. It's not. It's not at this point. Should that change, though, we can pivot on a dime, as we did in the past. We have great staff. We have great administrators. If given, and we talked about it at our administrative meeting today, if those parameters are in place and we had a portion of our students that wanted to stay fully remote and we were permitted to do so, we would try to accommodate that in a way that kept those students separate from the online learners so that our teachers didn't have to go back and forth, which was extremely difficult for them. We recognize that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
It's
welcome.
much clearer to me now.
Okay, Crystal. Resolutions only, all right?
Am I recognized?
I'm sorry?
Am I recognized?
Once you start speaking.
Okay. All right. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools and in light of the prevalence of COVID-19 Delta variant of the virus, the Edison Township Board of Education asks Governor Murphy considers permitting unvaccinated students to attend school remotely for the 2021-2022 school year until the spread of the Delta variant recedes. You said you're going to make an amendment. You haven't made an amendment yet. There was no first or a second yet. So until that time comes, this is still on the table. Whether, even if it gets removed later, it's still curious to see that you're singling out the unvaccinated.
We already had a first and second.
You already had a first
Yes.
and second?
Yes, that was a motion.
Who first and seconded?
Bureau and Mrs. White.
Of course, B-Rail would. So what I think you're amending is because there's already several mistakes. You already let it be known that you're discriminating on the unvaccinated kids. Jerry Shee, can you tell me how many teachers are vaccinated?
All your questions. You know
No,
the drill.
you cannot tell me how many teachers are vaccinated because it's illegal to do so.
Then why did you ask me the question?
Well, why did you make for only unvaccinated kids? Who says that you guys or the school's going to learn who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated? Is there a reason why teachers can have their privacy and the students can't?
Ask all your questions.
Okay.
You got 6 minutes.
In New Jersey, it's illegal to discriminate. There's a law, discrimination in places of public accommodation. One of those happens to be a school. Your lawyer's laughing about it because you know very well the moment you try to stop a kid from coming to the school, every school has to, every student in New Jersey has to be given an education. I want parents to know you can file an order restraining unlawful discrimination, reimbursement for financial loss, damages for pain and humiliation experienced as a result of unlawful discrimination, punitive damages, and attorney's fees. I hope you guys get sued again and again. Dr. Bragan, do we have any training for the teachers to let the teachers know, hey, when that kid takes his mask off or refuses to wear his mask, don't freak out, don't panic, don't act like a Karen. Do you have any training like that whatsoever? That's a question I'd like to know. You can't discriminate. Wow, 3 minutes only? All right, 3 minutes left. You can't discriminate on race, creed, color, national origin, ancestry, nationality, marital or domestic partnership, or civil union status, sex, pregnancy, breastfeeding, gender identity, or expression. People can express not to wear the mask. So this law also applies to them. Absolutely disgusting. Who put this on the agenda? Who is the one who put this on the agenda, specific? Any specific person, Board of Ed member? Superintendent, did you put this on the agenda?
That's all
Okay.
the questions.
I'm a little bit disgusted. Forget Governor Murphy, screw Governor Murphy. I want you to know there's many things Governor Murphy can tell you to do, and you're not going to do it. This is just one of those things that you're going to follow through. If Governor Murphy ordered, and I know some of you might say I'm getting carried away, but history has proven us differently. What if Governor Murphy says, hey, I'd like a list of all the Jewish students or all the Muslim students? Would you give that up? Absolutely not. We pick and choose what we want to do. The Edison taxpayers put up the Board of Education members, and you're supposed to stand up with the parents and the students. When times like these start, you know, that's all I see, all political props. With regard to Carol and Conway and Virginia, who have a background in education, the rest I see is political props from the EDO. Mohan, chairman, Mohan, he's treasurer. The rest of you, Mahesh's friends. How many of you are Democratic committee people? Absolutely disgusting. You guys come here to the Board of Education as a stepping
That's
stone.
not a part of the resolution.
It's part of it, and give me some leeway, and you'll see why. So you guys use this as a stepping stone to come here for to run for higher office, and you bring your party politics with you. And it even it proves it all the time. The only time you guys go against each other during Democratic primary. Baral, we've all seen you against Mohan a lot recently. Do people know that you supported Mohan during his campaign? Would you like to let people know that? Would you like to let the world know the only reason you're up there is because Mohan and Jerry felt that you were the safest one, that you were the most controllable one?
Time's
okay.
up. Time's up.
All right.
Sit down. Sit down. So, about the vaccination, you want to say a couple words about the statuses?
I just note a couple things. The first thing is that it's illegal to discriminate anywhere in the United States. That's a national law. It's not just a law of New Jersey. New Jersey happens to be the best state at protecting people from discrimination, and we have the most comprehensive employment and anti-discrimination laws that exist in the country, but it's illegal across the country. The second thing is, it's not illegal to ask someone if they're vaccinated. That's a specific decision from the EEOC. They determined that that was not a medical question, and it's okay to ask people whether they've been vaccinated, including employees and students. So, I forget what's Crystal's last name. I don't want to refer to him by his first name. I forget the speaker's last name. I know he likes to always refer to me as lawyer, and I apologize because I usually know everyone's last name. So next time if you come up and say it, I'll make sure I write it down and remember it. But it is totally legal for the school district to ask students whether they've been vaccinated or not vaccinated, and it's not considered discriminatory to have policies that are distinct and separate for non-vaccinated and vaccinated persons. Those decisions have also been rendered by, I think now, 4 or 5 circuit courts across the country, and they've all upheld vaccination requirements. So I think that settles those issues.
Okay. No back and forth. You had your chance, all right? You can come back at the rebuttal, right? Not back and forth this way.
And actually, it is the Supreme Court. It's called Jacobson versus Massachusetts. It's an 1890 case about the smallpox, I think. So go look it up.
Excuse me? You come here, you follow the rule, all right? You have your chance. You have your chance later on. No back and forth. Let's make it clear, all right? About how the agenda items comes on to, how the items come on to agenda, I work with Dr. Bragan. We work together, and that's how everything comes up. And I don't think we owe you any other
Just
answers.
on that, Mr.
Yeah.
Shi, according to the policy and the bylaws for the Board of Ed, the agenda items are determined by the board president and superintendent, and that's who puts the agenda items together. And then the board obviously votes on them at their meetings. Regarding the training for teachers, I think you asked a question regarding mask wearing. Our teachers did a superlative job last year when we were in school, when masks were mandated. I tried to visit almost every classroom in the district. I don't know if I got to everyone, but we did have almost 100% compliance with mask wearing during the times that they were required to be worn, even with some of our youngest and most disabled students. And for those that struggle with it, there are exceptions to when they wear the mask and when they don't have to, as there are in Executive Order 251. And our teachers did a great job with reinforcement schedules and trying to get students that had difficulty wearing the mask to be compliant. And for the most part, they were almost 100% effective. So kudos to our teachers. I don't think that's an issue. They're extensively well-trained, and I don't believe there would ever be an issue with somebody with that.
Okay. Yeah. The gentleman.
Good evening. Rich Boslett, 11 Hector Avenue. Just a quick question. On let's suppose that the governor doesn't go along with your resolution. Now, if you got all the kids in class, what is the policy going to be if a child comes down with COVID? Will they be quarantining that class? Will they quarantine the entire school? What is the policy on that?
We'll address that. Actually, that's a question, but that's not part of the resolution. So we're going to talk about it when we have open discussions.
When would that be?
That's after all the items get voted on.
Tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably.
Shall I bring it up again, or will you address
about
that?
10, 15 minutes. Actually, that's a question I'm going to ask Dr. Bregan. I have this question from the parents already.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Andy.
Andrew Heibel, Howard Avenue, Edison. I have a question for Dr. Bregan. In the budget, there's about $9 million in money transfers. If you can maybe just go into detail, is that for the end of the year for last year to close out the accounts? And there was just one that stuck out. You took $1.369 million out of health benefits, and you put $1.394 back into health benefits. Was that because of the, which we changed health benefits, or that's why it was just a little weird that you took money out of health benefits and put money back into health benefits, just about $30,000 more. And if you can just explain all the $9 million, are you balancing the budget for the rest of the year, or usually it's a lot of money? Is that because we're balancing it for the end of the year or whatever? I know it's usually a lot at one time during the year. So if you can just explain the transfers, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, sure, that's a good question. Those were end of the year closeouts for June 30th. And when we close out the accounts, we got to balance them out over the course of the year. Sometimes we expend more money from one account than was originally budgeted, and we had excess in another account, and that we moved that over to make sure those accounts balance. The health benefits one was just a timing issue on when the payments were. It's millions of dollars on a monthly basis for the health benefits, so sometimes we have to move it over to make sure we have that coverage, whether the bill was in the beginning of the month or the end of the month.
Thank you. Any other questions about resolutions? Yes.
Thank you. Heather Casey, 51 Lunch Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So first, I just want to say a huge thank you to the administrators, the Board of Ed, the teachers, the staff throughout Edison for handling all of these shifts throughout. I have 4 children, one of whom was a graduating senior when the pandemic hit, and my youngest was in 1st grade. And a huge thank you to the administrators at Menlo Park School and J.P. Stevens for navigating some really tricky stuff, and their teachers. So thank you. I have 2 questions. One is about the resolution itself based on the amendment that was just made, and I think this is an issue of language. But by taking out the word unvaccinated, I feel like it would be best to add after students, and I think the lawyer give language to this, the choice to attend, because without it, it seems as if we're appealing for just remote instruction. So I would ask the board to consider adding just a little bit of that language that indicates that it is about choice. And while I know this is about the resolution and we don't know where this will lead, I do think it's timely, and I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about modality, because while I am so impressed with what teachers were able to do, I think the concurrent model of teaching that we saw last year, now that we know better, we can do better. If we are going to have a remote option, I strongly encourage that we look at the possibility, wherever possible, to have remote-only classrooms and in-person classrooms, with opportunities to return as needed, of course, as we have before. But that high-flex concurrent model just gets too tricky, especially for our youngest learners. So I really ask you, and I know it's harder to schedule that way, to think hard about the teachers and the students if this passes, and then we're able to move forward. So those are my comments and questions. So specifically about the resolution, the language piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Bragan,
Yeah.
I agree about this one. This is a concern that few parents have brought up, few other people have brought up. I completely understand logistically. I don't know how we can do it in a matter of 2 weeks, but something that the administration can consider into, especially definitely the elementary schools, all the elementary schools, and more importantly, I mean, if I imagine this, if I envision the scenario, I don't know how we can do it when 15 are in person, 5 are remote, or other way around. But if the ratio is half or something, or pretty similar in that direction, we can really do that. And then when the children go in person, what can happen is the whole class in person stays as is, and the remote class just becomes a class in person. But if we are able to sort that out, at least look at the data and try to dig into a possibility of doing that, in person separate and remote separate, that would be great if you can take a little deeper look at it. And yes, I do also agree with the language part of it. While we have an opportunity right now, let's put together a language which covers more of a choice to those who want to stay remote and those who want to come in person. Basically, all we are doing, from my understanding, is requesting the governor as a board to consider this. So the language, yes, just so it doesn't come back and raise questions, it's like we are flexible on our side to implement what governor says. So it's not the board who is stopping anyone to do remote or in-person instruction. It's just we are requesting right now. So if we can amend that language to make it very clear that the choice will be for the district once the governor orders.
Okay. Yeah, we already responded. You want to say it again?
I think we would concur that with that assessment that our parents just said and what you said, Mr. Patel, that having a remote option as well as an in-person option, the best way to do that is to keep those two totally separate. I do concur with everyone and their assessments over the course of the last year, but to do the hybrid where you're catering to online and in-person students is not sustainable. And our teachers did a great job in trying to pull that off, but it's very difficult for everyone involved. So we haven't delineated or shared plans to anyone, including board members as well as the public. But don't take that to mean we don't have plans and we don't have things in place. The problem is, as soon as I survey someone or share it with someone, they think we're doing it. Today, August 17th, we're not permitted to have any remote instruction. So rest assured, if those options are in place, and the only one that can make that determination is through executive order by the governor and a declared state of emergency that permits such activities to take place, we would be ready. Would we have 100% schedules, 100% complete tomorrow? No, because it requires a little bit of creativity on the secondary level, knowing which kids would come and which wouldn't. It's one thing when you're taking an advanced 3 AP calculus class as opposed to a 4th grade language arts class. There's a great many teachers who could teach that 4th grade language arts class. There's not a great many teachers at each high school that could teach the advanced level 3 calculus classes. So is everything ironclad and ironed out? No, of course not. That would require the work, and I'm confident in our team, our administrative team, and our teachers, as they've done all for the last 18 months, have been able to pivot on a dime, do what we ask them to do, go above and beyond, and we would do that too. But please, as the public and the board, don't think that Because we haven't published the plan, we don't have a plan. We do, and we will be ready when that, and if that occurs. I'm concerned, though, that when people see this board meeting, and it may be as it's broadcast live and recorded, they're going to think that's an option. Today, August 17th, school starts September 1st. It's not an option. The only option we have is to arrive in the front doors over here in every other one of our schools.
Okay. Any other public comments on the resolutions? Yes, Matt.
Good evening, Matt Revnacki, TA Vice President. Actually, I just have, I guess, two questions, or one comment actually and one question. I don't disagree with what Dr. Bragan just said. Since the board minutes hit the website, I know I was contacted by a number of teachers. I know Mr. Bowden was contacted by a number of teachers, about the remote aspect, and obviously we don't have an answer because we didn't discuss it at any point. So, I do agree to an extent. Unfortunately, when it becomes in print, though, people make assumptions and, want to know answers. The question I do have, though, I'm just curious, is this request unique to Edison, or do we know how many districts across the county or state are making a similar request? I know at least county-wise, I know, Dr. Bragan, you meet with the county superintendents. There's been times we met and you were leaving for a meeting with them. Are other districts doing the same type of thing, or is this just an Edison, petition? Thanks.
I can answer that, Board President Shi. There are several other districts. I'm not sure how many in the county that are making a similar resolution, Mr. Revnick. And I purposely didn't schedule a meeting with the ETA to talk about it because I don't want to do it unless we're ready to do it. And I know you guys have been very supportive throughout the entire process last year too, and working together and trying to come up with a plan. We have our county roundtable meeting tomorrow morning at 9, and I'll find out where other people are at that point. Obviously, as I think we said at the July meeting, that we don't know where we're going to be in August 17th, right? So I'm hoping that things stay as they are, but this is fluid with this pandemic. All of you know that I've been here for dealing with this since December, right, of 19. Things could change on a dime, and we just have to be ready. As of now, I know there were some North Jersey districts that were opposed to some of the stuff and having that remote option. As far as Middlesex County, I'm not sure, but I'll find that out at our roundtable tomorrow.
Any other comments for the resolutions? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Hi, good evening. Amy Patagna, 41 Frost Avenue West. I do feel much more comfortable knowing that there are some plans in place before this even gets approved, because that was one of the questions once it did go to print was, what are those options? I'm standing here as a parent first and as a teacher in the system. And also piggybacking on what Mrs. Casey had said about trying with the hardest of hardest efforts to try to keep a remote only and a in-person only option because it is not effective. I teach kindergarten, special education, and I have a child who has a learning disability. And the hybrid really did nothing for them in terms of their focus. And the hybrid model was more of a distraction than what they were able to focus on in learning. My child, that was in 3rd grade, was more focused on what everybody online was doing wrong and why all those kids weren't following directions than he was on the content trying to be learned. It's just, so I strongly, strongly encourage, and if you need a teacher liaison, you need someone to give you some pep talk that the kids can do it. I had kindergarten special ed. They wore masks beautifully. They never even asked for mask breaks except for having snack. All they wanted was their snack, and it was mask down, mask on. So for all those advocates that are saying kids can't wear masks, I did it with kindergartners and special education kindergartners. So it is, and this is more for, not for you, Dr. Reagan, for many other people listening. My question, though, is what happens after the Delta variant? What happens when we get the Delta variant in control, and then there's another one? At some point, and I'm speaking as a parent, giving the parents all of the choice may not be feasible any longer. At some point, we might just need to cut the cord and say, no, the kids have got to be back in school, and not give that choice over and over and over. So just something to, for the board to have in the back of the mind. And again, I'm on both sides. I'm a parent and an educator, and strongly request as whatever you can do to keep the two separate. And I can speak for many of my colleagues. There are so many that would rather do all remote, and there are so many that would rather do just in person. So I'll be there September 1st. Give me as many kids as you want. Give me 30 kindergartners, if that's what we need to do to get kids in the classroom. And I just wish everybody best of health and luck for the school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Any other comments about the resolutions? See none? All right, let's move on. So, all right. Let's go through the personnel labor relations. Can I have a motion on the personnel items only?
Motion.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. Mrs. White. Mr. Patel, Mrs. White. Personnel only. Roll call.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes, I have to abstain, though, on number 21, coaching, but everything else is fine.
Ms. Madiker?
Yes.
Ms. Podolsky?
Yes.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Oh, yes, motion is carried.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the next three items. Administration, A through F, curriculum instructions, pupil special services. 2, 3, 4, 3 items together. Can I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Okay, second. Okay, Mrs. Conway, Biro Patel, and Mrs. Conway.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Madiker?
Yes.
Ms. Podolsky?
Yes.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Oh, yes, motion is carried.
Thank you. The last item is the finance, A, B, C, D. Do I have a motion on that one?
Motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay. Mrs. Badowski. Mr. Biro Patel first and Mrs. Badowski second.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Madiker?
Yes.
Ms. Podolsky?
Yes.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Oh, yes, motion is carried.
Thank you. Moving up, we have committee reports. First, Township Liaison Committee, Mrs. White.
Okay. All right, the Township Board of Ed Liaison Committee was held on Tuesday, July 20th, 2021, at 11 a.m. at the Education Center. In attendance were Council VP Sam Joshi, Councilwoman Joy Ship Freeman, Councilman A.J. Patel via Zoom, BOE VP Moen Patel, BOE members Bureau Patel, Virginia White, and Superintendent Dr. Bernard Bragan. In addition, Dr. Edward Adarelli, Director of Human Resources for Board of Ed, and Patrick Hussain, Director of School Safety and Security, were in attendance. Also in attendance via Zoom were Mayor Thomas Lenke, Deputy Fire Chief, Office of Emergency Management Coordinator Andy Toth, Assemblyman Robert Karabinchik, and Benjamin Gahano, aide to Assemblyman Karabinchik. Assemblyman Karabinchik was the first to address the group. The board asked about the availability of turf fields for school fields. In the past, the county provided them for different sports fields, the condition being that fields must totally be open for public use, and the board did not have an issue with that condition at all. It seems that the program changed and the county can no longer support any Board of Education property fields. Assemblyman Karavinchik proceeded to speak about additional state funding for school projects via the CARES Act. These monies have already been utilized in the district. Assemblyman Karavinchik also mentioned the pilot program for electric school buses. He stated that a bill was passed, and he said there is also a program for athletes who sustained concussions. Dr. Bragan stated that the Board of Education already has a concussion protocol in place. Mr. Biro Patel asked if Edison will be part of the pilot project with the electric school buses. Assemblyman Karavinchik said they are still waiting for state authorities to make a decision and spoke of a new bill for school energy efficiency stimulus to reduce power consumption. Mrs. Gloria Dittman provided the committee with an update on Edison Art Society. She is working along with Mrs. Jennifer Blevins, principal of Woodrow Wilson Middle School, and William Colibas, director of Buildings and Grounds, on the planters outside of Woodrow Wilson Middle School. The planters are huge and we're in need of attention. When the project is completed, it will be a wonderful addition to the building. Ms. Dittman added that there are 4 murals in different parts of our township, with more to come, as well as Amboy Avenue's unique pianos. Lastly, there's an exceptional display of art on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the municipal building, and also at the Menlo Park Mall. Properties. Mayor Lanke provided the committee with an update on Stelton School and the Kilmer properties. He stated that there is good news regarding Stelton School. There is nothing standing in the way for the town to transfer the property to the schools, and will recommend that to the town council for approval of the property transfer. The town council will have to approve the transfer. It should be on their agenda for the August council meeting. The Kilmer properties right now are limited to Parks and Recreation. That needs to be changed before moving forward. The mayor suggested having the township attorney speak with the Board of Education attorney, and Dr. Bragan said that he would facilitate this. Furthermore, the question of potential contamination keeps arising. The township is still attempting to locate the studies. Dr. Bragan asked if the William Toth Health Center is still available, and if that includes the fields behind the building. The mayor confirmed that it is. Mr. Joshi inquired about the size of the area, and Mayor Lanke thought it was approximately 4 acres. Dr. Bragan stated that the Board of Education is interested in possibly purchasing that property. COVID-19 update. Deputy Chief Toth provided the committee with the COVID-19 update. He indicated that Pfizer is the vaccine approved for people as young as 12 years of age. Mr. J. Elliott of the Edison Township Health Department is also working on this project. In addition, Deputy Chief Toth updated the committee on the meeting with Ms. Ship Friedman and Dr. Bragan on a plan to present an educational program for both high schools in the fall regarding careers in the fire department. The school crossing guards. Councilwoman Ship Freeman researched some of the concerns regarding school crossing guards, their absences and coverages. The auxiliary police cannot be used in that capacity. Mr. Kassane stated that crossing guards are part of the police function. School security guards have duties inside the buildings and on school grounds. A lengthy discussion followed. Dr. Bragan suggested that since there is a shortage of guards, possibly an increase in hourly pay is necessary. Mr. Mohan Patel asked if the possibility of volunteers can be an option, and Mr. Joshi said that he is not opposed to exploring the option of paying added benefits. Example would be vision or dental for motivation. Mayor Lanke said that he would come up with a proposed plan to increase crossing guards. Most importantly, school crossings must be covered. Mr. Kassane provided us with a background information on how the district decided to hire its own security officers instead of using Class 3 police officers from the township. The bottom line was a significant savings from using the township police. Additionally, the district could retain more control over security officers in this manner. He gave a complete update on school safety and security. He answered many questions and addressed many concerns. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 14th, 11 a.m. at the Education Center. Respectfully submitted, Virginia White, Chair. That meeting took place on July 20th, so I have a little bit of an update. I promise I'll be quick. This is an update on the Stelton School project. I was told that there is a question regarding placement on the council agenda for the August 25th meeting. We are not sure if the project can be moved forward as a resolution or an ordinance. It is my understanding that it has been moved to the township attorney to make that determination. I have placed multiple calls and the response has been a bit delayed. For the last 7 months, the liaison committee has experienced amazing cooperation between the township and the board. Stelton School has been a priority. If we can successfully reclaim the property, we can begin to address the multitude of issues involved. Let's not make the same mistakes that have been made in the past. Let's begin to deal with overcrowding now. Let me be clear, if anything at all moves forward, it is because of the awesome people who make up the liaison committee. These are the very same people who worked so hard during the dark times to secure vaccine for the town and the district when we could not get any. I so appreciate each and every one of them, I just can't tell you. They are Council Vice President Sam Joshi, Councilman A.J. Patel, Councilwoman Joyce Ship Freeman, BOE VP Mohan Patel, Board Members Shivri Prasad Madikar, Biral Patel, and Superintendent Dr. Bernard Bragan. I would also include Mayor Tom Lanke and Deputy Chief Andy Toth. Both of them have attended every single liaison meeting. And we also received support from the BOE President, Mr. Shi, and Councilman Rich Brescher. I'm asking for your support with this. Keep positive thoughts in your mind. They always work so well. And this is our first step forward if we can make this work. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Next up, Curriculum Committee, Mrs. Penn.
Okay. The Curriculum and Technology Committee met on August 4th, 2021 at 12 p.m. remotely. In attendance is myself, Dr. Una Chen, Mohin Patel, Shivi Prasad Madikar, Gil Polikowski, and Berninda Mahabir. Curriculum updates for the 21-22 school year were presented for the following courses. For elementary, it's ELA, kindergarten, math, GNT, and science. For secondary, it's middle school health, high school health, algebra 1, science, grade 6, social study, grade 6, 7, 8, AP calculus AB/BC, calculus 1, biology 1, 2, and biology AP, chemistry 1, 2, and AP, dance 1, 2, and French 1, 2, 3, Spanish 1, 2, 3, Italian 1, 2, 3, and also Java programming, business law, middle school tech education, grade 6 through 8, ACES, and contemporary health issues, calculus 3, integrated science, and also diversity and multiculturalism in U.S. history, math prime 7 and 8 for middle school, and AP physics 1. Also, a pilot for K-2 report cards was presented for implementation in 21-22 school year. The report card is completely aligned with NJSLS and gives family detailed information about their students' strength and weakness. When we have more information about the piloting, we'll keep you posted. So that's all. Meeting adjourned around 1:30.
Thank you. Finance Facility Committee meeting. Mohin's not here. Mrs. Conway, can you do the honor?
Okay, the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting was held on Monday, July 19th at 4:30 in the caucus room of the Education Center. Present was Mohin Patel, who's the chair, myself, Jerry Shee, Ann Cluck, and Dr. Bragan. We discussed capital reserve funds, and the current capital reserve, we have $12.5 million. And in addition, for this year, there's $14 million, which gives us a total of $26.5 million. But within that money, Dr. Bragan reviewed these amounts and reminded the committee that $9 million was allocated for the Lincoln Elementary School addition and $3.5 million for our Savior's Church property and renovations for the Edison High School auditorium, leaving approximately $14.5 million in the reserve account. In our current capital amount in the 21-22 budget for buildings, we have $17.4 million. This is the amount allocated for capital projects in this year's budget that is currently unallocated. The ESSERS 3 capital funds, we have $7.8 million. Dr. Bragan shared that these additional federal grant monies are currently unallocated and can be used for capital projects to ease overcrowding. Online bidding software was proposed. The committee approved securing the online bidding software for EC e-sourcing solutions at a cost not to exceed $22,000. Other items that were discussed, it was determined that we would need 2 additional elementary school locations to accommodate full kindergarten programs. We are in the process of acquiring the property adjacent to Menlo Park School and would need one on the south side of town as well. Representatives from DMR are planning to visit John P. Stevens with Dr. Bragan and Ms. Polakowski to review proposed plans for expansion. This tour was scheduled for August 11th, 2021. The proposed turf field at John P. Stevens High School is expected to cost between $1.5 and $2 million. We will explore using fields for John P. Stevens athlete at both Polanski Park and the fields on Shamrock Way. We are adjourned at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. The upcoming meetings, in September, we're going to the 2 meeting setup. So the caucus meeting will be on Thursday, September 23rd. And the public meeting will be on Tuesday, September 28th. Both of them will take place at J.P. Stevens High School at 7:00 p.m. So now we'll open up for board member comments. Okay, we're going this way. Bureau?
All right, so we covered quite a bit of the reopening matters here. So Dr. Bragan, thank you for addressing some of it, and most importantly, thank you for making it very clear that there is no choice right now. That's not an option right now as of what is today, 17th August, right? All we are doing here is requesting the governor to allow this. And yes, when we change the language, let's make sure that the language covers all the aspect of it. So when governor hears our request, the request is clear as well. So that's important there. So that being said, there are, when it comes to choice of remote learning and hybrid and remote learning, in-person or remote learning, there's a, we don't have a choice right now against repeating that. But at the same time, assuming if that happens, one of the aspects we covered is, an option for allowing 2 separate classes for remote and in-person. But more importantly, so that's something that if administration can consider, that we covered that. But we'll also be in the same scenario, whether we are in person or remote, for ventilation, social distancing, contact tracing, and those aspects. So I'm very confident on the administration. The administration we have excelled last year. Everything went well. So again, hopefully the administration will do a great job, and everything will be fine. However, there is, in terms of the new development, right? So there were no vaccines last year. Now this year we have vaccines. So there is some population who has got vaccines and some population haven't got vaccines, right? Now, I understand the law is we cannot ask anyone that they have vaccines or not in terms of school district, right, Dr. Bregan? We are not in a position to ask anyone whether they had vaccine or not.
Well, I think as the board attorney said, that we can ask for clarification, and we actually will, and we have in the past, and the way that impacts the direct operation of the school. If somebody tests positive for COVID-19 or there's an exposure, the determination on how long they would quarantine for is contingent upon their vaccine status.
Right.
So we have asked staff members, and we would do the same for students. Now, whether they comply with that request or not is up to them. We would not be compelled to do that. But we have, and we would ask, because that would impact the way the quarantining aspect would be. It's a
Okay, so
shorter
will we-
duration if somebody is vaccinated.
Right, so will we have an option for a staff member who is unvaccinated to, for different arrangement, or do we do frequent testing, or how does it work in terms of testing?
Testing for COVID-19? Is that what
Testing
you're
for
asking?
COVID-19.
Yeah, we offered that all throughout the course of last school year, and we would look to do that again. The vendor that we used predominantly was Back to School Work Solutions, but we have a couple of other vendors that are willing to work with us in the school district and have the opportunity, again, voluntary, not mandated, for staff and students to get tested. And it seemed to go really well. I went a few times myself before I got vaccinated right here in the Edison High School cafeteria. And we offer it at both high schools, and we look to have different locations that's most convenient to our staff and students.
Okay, great, thank you. And we'll have the reports sent by school building principals in case of any cases, right?
Yeah, if you remember last year, we published that on, we published that on our website, and we would do the same thing.
Okay, awesome, perfect. All right, so that being said, if anyone has any questions about, there will be a lot of questions, I'm sure, for this whole thing, and especially when everyone is waiting for the governor to decide what's happening. But regardless, there will be questions because the schools are reopening. So one of the things I want to announce is some of the questions cannot be addressed, but many questions right now, and I know Ginny will second to me on that, can be addressed by Parent Help Desk. It's convenient, I understand, that to send an email to Dr. Bregan and everyone, and which is everyone, all the board members, Dr. Bregan, everyone is available at the disposal to serve the people and do the best by if someone sends an email, but there is help desk. There is help desk for transportation and many other areas. And Mr. Barka has been sending periodic updates and frequent emails about the help desk. So my personal request to everyone, please, please, please make best use of the Parent Help Desk. It's a tool called Incident IQ. We all paying for it. You all paying for it. So let's make a use of it. We have put a lot of hard work into it. So the more you use it, the district can get better because we can get reports, the analytics reports and everything out of it. So it really helps tracking, helps us make intelligent decisions for improvement going forward. At the same time, the resolution will be optimal, if not already, right, Dr. Bregan? So please make the most use of help desk in the beginning of the school year. I mean, around the year, obviously, but definitely give it a shot in the beginning of the school year to make sure it's working fine and make the most out of it. And that being said, on a personal level, I'm hopeful all the decisions made by governor and the legislative bodies and the district will be the decision which works well for everyone. That being said, everyone really have only 2 weeks left of summer, 2 to 3 weeks, so enjoy everyone. And best of luck to all the children and staff members for the new school year. Thank you.
Excuse me, you're gonna wait your turn. You're gonna have we'll have public comments later on when we're done. You can have your time, okay? Thank you. Yes, Shivi.
Just want to make an announcement. The next Board of Education Community Relations Committee meeting will be held on August 30th, Monday at 7 o'clock. It's going to be a live interactive Zoom session. The information on how to log in would be available on our website, or you could email any of the board members and they could provide you a link. So don't forget, August 30th at 7 p.m. It's a Monday, 2 days before school opening. And I had one question on the Facilities and Finance Committee minutes. Dr. Bregan, On the online bidding software, it says cost not to exceed 22,000. Is it a one-time expenditure?
Well, no, I think that's an annual cost, but we've only approved it for this year, and we're going to pilot it and see if it works. You know, there's quite a lot of effort that goes into the bids we put out, and this would be a way to do it online, especially for the transportation bids. We have over 400 routes. So we're going to try it out, and it's a different way to do it. We'll see if it works. And so we have the authority to go up to that amount. That would be the annual fee, though, not one year.
Okay, thank you. That will be all.
Okay. Dr. Chen? Okay. Mrs. Penn? Okay. Mrs. Conway?
Okay. Shivi, I just want to let you know, I was at that meeting, and the sheet that we had gotten was $3,000 a month, and I'm not sure who actually did the negotiations. I wouldn't be surprised, he's nodding his head, that he never accepts what they are telling us the price is, but we went from $3,000 and not to exceed $2,200. Isn't that correct, Mr. Shi?
Is it 2,200, 22,000?
22,000, sorry.
22,000.
So instead of
It wasn't negative.
36,000, it's 22,000.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, correct. So we cut down the price.
Yes. But I would like, you know, there's certain times of the year that I get a chance to attend a meeting that makes me think that this is the reason why I'm on the Board of Ed. And last night I was invited to go to a SPAN meeting, and the anagram that they kept using was CPAG, and it was Special Education Parents Advisory Group. And it's a group throughout the state, and other states do it, where they reach out to special ed parents to give them assistance, to give them knowledge. And it was a fabulous group that came together. And it reminded me of years ago when we had our Special Ed Advisory Council, where parents came on a regular basis and asked questions and learned things about how they could help their children, and moreover, learn about what's going on in our district and how we can work together. And it was a fabulous group. And Dr. Tui was there, and Mrs. Badowski attended. It was remotely, and I believe Mr. DePasquale was there. So we had a nice Edison group that attended. And Dr. Tui kind of let us know that this is part of the direction that we want to go in, to get our parents to come out and learn and express their feelings and ask questions. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to, because it's important to help our parents and educate our parents as how they can help their children, and while at the same time work together with the teachers and the administration in our district to move forward in a positive way. And I thank Dr. Tui for being very positive with it. And actually, on Thursday, the board is actually having our first special ed board meeting with Dr. Tui and the administration to see where we are going for the 21-22 school year. And this will be his first year where we're going, hopefully, in a very positive direction. And I thank you immensely, Dr. Tui. And the other thing that I'm thrilled about is tomorrow morning, board members were invited to attend the new teacher meeting in the morning, where we give our 2 cents as to teachers and what we can say positively to welcome them to our district. And I'm really looking forward to meeting our teachers and for a new positive school year coming up, whichever way it will turn out to be.
Is it tomorrow or Thursday? I think it's Thursday, right?
I'm sorry?
It's Thursday, right? That
It's Thursday.
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 You said tomorrow. No, it's a Thursday. That's not tomorrow. You said
Tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
Thursday.
You got it? Thursday. All right.
I was not going to correct you.
Okay. So, Carol?
Okay, I've actually been kind of the same place as Mrs. Conway has recently, but I was very excited about the CPAC meeting that we attended, because I also advocate for special needs children, as part of my job just in this district, but I also do it in other districts where family members have students who were not getting their needs met. And this was the group that my daughter, who was once on a child study team here, would keep handing me the information from these people. And so far, all 4 of the young men in my family received excellent education because of the advocacy, and we left a room full of smiling district employees in these other districts because they just didn't know how to do those things. And when you put the right people together and you brainstorm, so I was very happy when I signed on to the meeting last night, and the first thing was Dr. Tui saying hi to me, and then was Mrs. Conway appearing. But a lot of these things are important to Mrs. Conway and I because they're old and we're old. And you could say, well, we don't do things like that anymore. But a lot of the old ways are still good ways, and they've changed with time just as we've changed with time. So it is nice every once in a while when you see something you used to do a long time ago and all of a sudden it works again now. So, you know, we've been kind of busy, and on Thursday morning, as you all now know, we will be going to see the teacher orientation, and in honor of that, the new teachers being trained. All day today, before I came tonight, I was wearing my t-shirt that I got as a beginning teacher here that says a big 1997 on the back. And when I came here and went to the teacher orientation and training that we got from our excellent staff development people, I kind of thought, you know, I've taught in 2 different school districts very successfully. The one district sent me to the school board's convention to present excellent things we had done in Long Branch. And I'd also taught at Monmouth University, and I'd also taught preschool. So I thought I pretty much knew just about everything until these people came in and showed me the way we do things here in Edison. And one of the things when I taught at Monmouth University in advanced teaching of reading was to tell my students on the last day that we've taught you the right way to do everything. But I want you to know that when you get a job and you get there and they say, oh no, we don't do it this way, don't immediately tell them that Dr. Young and Mrs. Podofsky told you the right way. Watch and see how theirs works. It might be they're calling it a different name, or it might be right, but you know, you want to keep your job, so don't tell everybody you know everything right away. So we're gearing up for school in a very positive way with a lot of new things going on and a lot of planning. And I know we're all worried about the elephant in the room and in Trenton. And, you know, we've got to deal with that, but we also have a lot of positive things going on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. White?
Nothing.
Nothing, okay. I just have a couple questions for Dr. Bregan. So one is what the gentleman asked, hope next year we'll have a very smooth school year, but God forbidden, some of students just tested positive. They might need to be quarantined for 10, 14 days, depending on what the CDC guideline is. So the question is, what's going to happen to these students when they are being quarantined? How their studies and homework will be handled when they're being quarantined?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, you know, one of the things we have to deal with when we have a positive case or an exposure is we do the contact tracing. And there's parameters that we follow. As I said before, some of those are determined by whether the students around them or the staff members are vaccinated. There's a different outline for that. And once we make that determination, some students will be out of the school and will not be allowed to return for 7 to 10 days, depending on their situation and their status as far as if they get sick or not. And during that time, we're going to look to offer them home instruction, and it will be provided virtually. So it won't be a synchronous Zoom kind of classroom setting like we had in the past, because we had that hybrid setup and that was an easy transition. It will be more of a home instruction model. Will be conducted most likely outside the traditional school hours in the same manner that we would do if somebody was sick or broke their leg or had to be out of school for an illness for a period of time.
Thank you. The other thing is we encounter this issue every year, the parent portal, before the school starts. I hope that the portal is open except the certain sections like before. Usually the portal opens up very late, a couple of days before the school starts, and parents, they try to log in, and we hit a lot of traffic with the parent portal. So what I'm asking is it possible we can get it open up a little early, so we can have some time, for the parents to log in, and in case they hit any issues, we have some time to address that.
We'll definitely take a look at that. We want to make sure the information is accurate with the classes, bus schedules, and passes and all that, but I will work with the team and try to get that sooner than later.
Okay. Just want to double confirm that in the past, the bus pass will mail to the family, to the students. This year, they will be on the parent portal. All the parents need to do is just print that out.
I thought they were last year, too. I could
Okay.
be wrong with that, but I'll
All right.
double check on that.
Thank you. That's it from me. Now we open up.
Can I
Yes,
quickly
yes,
ask a
go ahead.
question? When should the bus passes, I'm sorry if I missed it, when should the bus passes be on the parent portal?
I'll get you that information as soon as I can. I don't want to misspeak right now, obviously before school starts, so parents
Right.
know the time and the bus location and the time for pickup.
Okay.
I'll revisit that when we get back tomorrow morning and get back to you and the board.
And do we have any idea on when the parent portal will be active?
I'll get you
It
that
says
info-
August
I'll get
20.
you that information, too. I'll try to get it
Okay,
sooner than later.
okay.
Let's see if we can open it a little earlier, so in case we have hiccups and stuff, so they can, have more time.
Thank you.
So, one more thing, Dr. Bragan. So, we had arrangement with Hackensack Meridian for the vaccination for educators and staff back in March when we had that, and now we have option for students vaccinations. Some students choose, right? So, with this booster shot coming up, with an option for that, and I heard there is going to be a news out there, if not already, that everyone is going to allow to do that. Can we speak with whoever we have arrangement with to have that available for whoever wants it?
Yeah, it was Hackensack Meridian Health, JFK is who we partnered with for offer that who were
Okay.
gracious enough to offer the vaccines to our staff. We will reach out to them again. I did see that guidance that it's about eight months
8
after
months, so
your
we
initial.
have a while, yep.
So we will take a look at that, and if we could partner with them again, we would love to do that. I think that worked out really well, and it was right in our own town.
Right.
Okay, anybody else? All right, now we open up for public comments. The lady was over there, want to speak? Yes. Okay, yeah.
Hi, my name is Lisa Sarro. Do I have to give you my address still? Or no? I could just, okay. So I'm here to advocate for my kids with everything that is going on with COVID, opening up schools, saying there's going to be no remote learning, and the fact that masks are going to be mandatory for these kids.
Excuse me, can you give her your name, please?
Lisa Sarro.
Okay.
Okay. I am a lifelong resident of Edison and a mother of 4 children. This is only my second time ever at a board meeting as a concerned parent. And the first time I was ever here was during the school shootings. When the school shootings were going on across America, and I feared for my children's safety and well-being as I do right now. The fear I have tonight is different. It isn't fear of a scary man with a gun. It's the fear of a scary man with too much power and not enough data. I fear these mask mandates, which will inevitably become vaccinated mandates, will do more harm to our children socially, emotionally, and academically than this propaganda-based virus that rarely affects children. I have a child going into 3rd grade who has severe anxiety and a learning disability. He refuses to wear a mask, tells me he cannot breathe with it on, and that he is suffocating. That's basically like me putting my hand over my kid's mouth and telling him, go ahead, try to breathe all day. As a mother, how can I even look at that as being anywhere near okay? It's child abuse. We can look at data over the past 18 months on how the lockdowns and mask mandates have harmed our children's mental and emotional health by looking at the anxiety, depression, and suicide rate, specifically for kids between the ages of 5 and 17, has gone up. But the saddest thing is that some government that is creating these mandates did not spend a single penny to do a conclusive study on the social, emotional, mental harms of the mask mandates or the lockdowns of our children. In Edison specifically, there is no AC. What is the science behind breathing in your own CO2 for 8 hours in an unair-conditioned room? I'm sure you have all seen the study done in Florida showing the amount of harmful viruses and diseases found on the children's masks after one day. We need to follow actual science, not the science. We need to listen to the hundreds of thousands of doctors who are being censored from telling the truth. Those doctors are now suing the CDC and are here. We sit here debating a mandate that comes from an inflated number, skewed data, and built completely to unnecessary fear. Superintendent Dr. Bragan, you helped me so much when my daughter was bullied in middle school. With no hesitation, you listened and you acted for her well-being. I know you have done so for countless students since becoming superintendent. Well, now more than ever, we need you to act and not turn a blind eye when it truly comes to the well-being of our children. These mandates are doing just that. They are allowing power-hungry government officials to bully you into compliance of abusing our children. They are not backed by science, and the only people carrying these burdens are our kids. It should be left up to the parents to decide what is best for our kids. There are many more districts across New Jersey who are standing up to the mandates to fight for the freedom of choice on behalf of our children. Edison should be one of those districts. I want to end with a few questions. When does your compliance end? When do we step in and give our muzzled children a voice? When is enough enough? Can you provide us all with data-based studies that masking our children works? Can you provide us with data-backed studies that our children's emotional, social, mental health isn't being harmed by following these mask mandates? And will all of you be wearing your masks for the entirety of your workday? Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, Gab.
Good evening. Hi. Gabriel Haller, 27 Back Drive. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I've been working in the New Jersey public school system for the past 4 years. I'm here to voice some concerns with our schools going forward. In no way, shape, or form am I here to admonish any members of this board. I understand this has been a very complicated year with many confusing directives provided by the state and the county levels. It is well known that our Board of Education members are elected by the people in this town. It is well known that our tax dollars and our hard-earned money goes right to our schools. And it is well known that public transparency for public education is non-negotiable. Members of this town have become increasingly frustrated over the past year solely due to lack of options. Complaints have spread like wildfire on WhatsApp groups and social media platforms. Parents want more choices for their kids. This concept of choices applies to masks, vaccines, in-person and remote learning, and even certain educational topics. Parents are concerned over the lack of transparency and have an overall distrust in our Board of Education members because their questions and concerns have been mostly unmet. With regards to educational topics, even delving further into the curriculums, things that are even inappropriate to discuss at the dinner table are now being forced upon our kids without direction from the parents. Majority of parents don't even know what is being taught to who and when. Opting out of these kinds of educational topics are important for families that wish to do so. I am all about choice. I don't always agree with other people's perspectives, but I have to respect their ideations and concerns. We have to understand the hows and whys that led to their subjective positions on certain topics. I saw a memo today that Edison School Board, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, requested Governor Murphy to permit unvaccinated students to attend school remotely for the upcoming school year until the Delta variant recedes. Now, I know this is in the resolutions, we discussed it and amended it, I appreciate it, but just in general, why is this only an option for unvaccinated students specifically? The same should apply for parents who feel that the remote learning is best option for their families at this time. We are becoming increasingly aware that vaccinated individuals can spread the Delta variant just as unvaccinated individuals can. If students have family members that are at risk, we should be taking this into consideration as well and offering them those same opportunities. The same applies for parents who do not want their children in masks all day long. Options should be provided. They should not be forced to homeschool their children because there is no remote and or in-person option for them. I personally believe that this should be a parent's choice regardless, but if the state mandates it and law says otherwise, then I understand. On August 13th, the Manasquan Board of Education sent a letter to Governor Murphy requesting that he repeal the state mandate and allow the school districts to maintain control over local regulations. They said that making a blanket statement for the entire state to follow undermined the trust between local communities and the boards of education. They also said as follows, and I quote, "Not only do we consider your new mandate unnecessary, overreaching, and counterproductive to the goal of returning students to school, the rhetoric that has surrounded the announcement has been divisive and irresponsible. You even went so far to say publicly on August 9th that anyone supporting an optional mask policy is willing to sacrifice our children for politics. To suggest that months of careful and thoughtful planning by local boards of educations is akin to sacrificing our children serves no productive purpose other than dividing our communities. Wall Township Schools sent a letter to Governor Murphy as well, requesting that he rescind his blanket mandates, and the same for Hopatcong Schools and Stafford Public Schools. The Township of West Milton went so far as to put a resolution out that they actually oppose Executive Order 251. This is about choice for all parents. Regardless of the personal convictions and or opinions that a Board of Education member may have, it is their responsibility to listen to the general public and have their best interests and their children's interests in mind. The state level should not be mandating anything, and it should absolutely be within the local district's power to assess, strategize, and work with our parents to come to a collective agreement about how to move forward. Blanket mandates never work, and they always end up hurting the ones they were meant to protect the most. I implore the Board of Education to send a letter and request that Governor Murphy rescind his mandates for masks, in-person learning, remote only for those sick and or in quarantine, and provide more options for our parents. That's what we want. We just want to be heard, and we just want to be respected. Just in addition, also on a side note, I just wanted to close with this. I'm not sure if this is a DPW or a township problem, but there's a huge issue by John Marshall Elementary intersection of Barlow Road and Sutton's Lane. There's a crossing guard that is usually stationed at that intersection, but there is no crosswalk. Just a block over by Cornell Street and Sutton's Lane, there is both a crosswalk and a crossing guard. I understand there is no sidewalk to connect the actual portion by Barlow Road, but it's a huge safety hazard for students walking to school in that direction. Maybe we can discuss something to increase safety at that intersection. Just wanted to bring some attention to that. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. As far as a crossing guard, I think there are discussions going on with the council. And you just heard the report from Mrs. White about crossing guards. And my understanding is there are some discussions going on about the sidewalks as well. That is a section that was part of the discussion. And together there's also a discussion about the Floyd Street at J.P. Stevens. They're looking for some kind of a grants. My understanding is on the agenda to be done in 2022, I'm sorry, next year. So let's hope that it's moved forward. All right? Thank you.
Mr. Board President, can I just respond?
Yes.
Gabriel, you mentioned some other issues related outside the mask issues as well. I would encourage you to reach out to my office. I'd love to sit down and talk to you about some of the concerns about transparency, curriculum issues. We could definitely go over that. And you and Lisa, I both understand your concerns about the mask mandate. I think another parent asked me outside, what's my personal belief on whether students should wear masks or not? And it's kind of irrelevant because as an agent of the school district, I have to follow the executive order. Failure to do so, just so you know, would sacrifice our state aid. That's the carrot they hang over our heads. So if Bernie Bragan got up here and convinced these 9 people that we're not going to do it because I don't think it's right, for whatever the reason is, I don't want to get into politics here, but I don't really have that option because as many of you know or don't know, we had significant increases in state aid that enable us to keep our budget at a zero tax base increase this year. And I don't want to sacrifice those things, and that's just the increase. If we sacrifice all our state aid, we'd be in significant trouble. So it's really not an option for me. I understand your concerns. I understand your positions. As the agent of the school district, the chief academic officer, I don't have the flexibility to say, you know what, Governor, I'm not following this one. I'll follow that one, or this one, and I'm not going to, I can't pick and choose. And it's unfortunate. You know, I have to answer to them. And I hear you. I understand your concerns. I don't want to walk around the buildings with a mask on all the time if I didn't have to, and we will when schools are in session because we have to comply to the order. I get it, and I hear I feel it, and I hear your frustrations. But know that it's not an individual decision, even as the school superintendent, for me to make. We can put a correspondence out and let them know about our protest. We can do that. I don't know if it'll work, but we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, the older gentleman, did I ask the questions that you would intend to ask for Dr. Bragan?
Mr. Bozit.
Yeah.
Mr. Bozit, did you get your question answered?
I didn't know if I answered.
Partially, yes.
Okay.
I'm still a little bit confused as to what happens in a classroom, if a child comes down with COVID, is the entire class going to be quarantined? Or just the child that has that's tests positive? Then now I understand from what you said before, he'll be homeschooled with using the remote capabilities. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so what happens to the rest of the class? Is everybody quarantined or just the one child?
It would be the students that were in close contact with the student.
Oh,
In the past, we erred on the side of caution last year, and we typically quarantined the whole class, which exceeded the CDC recommendations and our Department of Health recommendations. Moving forward in September, we will work in concert with Mr. Elliott. He's our Director of Health for Edison Health Department. And we will quarantine all those students that are considered a close contact and would have to do the contact tracing to see that.
Okay, so the contact tracing will dictate
who would be
quarantined and
who
would
had
not.
interactions with that student for
Gotcha,
longer than the 15-minute period that were in the 6 feet radius.
All right, that really answers my question. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, Sue.
Sue Campione, 8 Schiffer Court. Just a quick question. I was curious as the status of the tents that were up for lunches in the spring, if they will still be utilized, because with all the students back, how lunch is going to be handled. Of course, they're not going to be wearing masks during lunch. The other thing, too, just, every time I come to the meetings and everyone's talking about the overcrowding, and with the way of the world and the way that we handled the remote instruction, why does Edison not think about maybe starting an online academy and teachers would apply to teach online remotely? That would be their job, and students would have to apply by a certain date and wouldn't be able to change their mind or flip-flop during the year. That's where you go to school, is online. It really wouldn't cost us a lot. Everybody has the equipment, and I know other districts are doing things like that. So it's just something to think about. And just a side comment, I'm sure I'm going to get booed, but COVID with kids this year is a real thing. If you see, Jonathan Bush is the mayor of Metuchen. He's been posting weekly. They've had more cases a week in Metuchen than they had all of last summer. My daughter works in a camp, and I'm not going to name the camp, but last year one child quarantined during camp because his brother tested positive for COVID. This year, left and right, the kids are getting COVID and quarantining. Whole groups are quarantined, and they're in pods. They wear masks, but it's real. It's out there. So I think that Edison, whether the governor had said and mandated it to wear masks, if we want the schools open and we want the kids here and we want them to stay here and not have to do all of this hybrid and online and offline and all, they're going to have to wear masks until we at least can get some of them vaccinated, because there's just not enough vaccinated children, and it's real. Look at Florida, look at Texas, what's going on. They're closing schools already, and we don't want to go through that again. It's a nightmare for everybody. So the safest thing is that, and most of the kids, when you ask them, I worked in a special ed class. Those kids wore their masks all day long, never took them off, never complained. So it can be done. Thanks.
Thank you. Your comment on the content?
Yeah, thank you for those comments, Sue. We actually had our administrative meeting today, and we will look at the option of the tents. What we were asking our administrative team this morning when we talked about them was, the feasibility of using the tents again and how well they were accessed. So that's an easy fix that we can do. We used a local vendor that I'm sure we could do that again. Thank you.
Yeah, as far as online courses for overcrowding, we'll consider that. Thank you. Okay. Crystal.
First thing I noticed is none of you are wearing masks. You're going to ask all the students to wear masks. You, the leaders, not wearing masks, not 6 feet apart. Absolute hypocrisy. I hope our kids aren't watching this today to see our leaders, the hypocrisy our leaders have. Absolutely disgusting, zero integrity. I just want to say this. The lawyer, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I call all lawyers lawyer. Lawyer, you called out a fake case law, or it is a real case law, but it doesn't apply in this scenario. You used the case law that was for a vaccine. There is no coronavirus vaccine, and that's according to the FDA. So, again, you know, you call things out. It might sound, to regular people, it sounds like you might be saying the truth. To people who understand, we know you're covering up. I'm absolutely disgusted. I want to ask to the lawyer, if the Governor Murphy mandates no Armenians in public schools, will Dr. Bregan follow those orders?
Other questions? You know the drill.
I want you to answer that later. And I want you to, because I know you won't follow it, and I want you to say why you won't follow it, because the same applies to the
Keep
mask.
asking the
You can't
questions. You know the
discriminate.
drill, yes.
Yeah, you don't want the back and forth, because sometimes I need the
I want to
answer
give you
to
6
go into
minutes.
the-
I want to
into the
give you
next
6
question.
minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay?
All I see are a bunch of political props who say one thing one day and then do another. Absolutely disgusted. If you don't want to run for the Board of Ed, you shouldn't run for the Board of Education if you don't come to meetings. Once again, Mohan is not here. When Shannon was running, Shannon tended not to be here. Don't run for the BOE. And those who do, after you win, why are you running for things like town council or something else? Isn't our children more important? That should just go to show you what I was saying earlier was true, that people do use the BOE as a political stepping stone, and that's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, I do want some of my questions answered when I'm up here, because your answer could lead me on to next question or whatnot. It's called having a conversation. If I choose to have a conversation, you don't have to tell me you're going to wait until, because what happens is I'll go sit back down, I'll want to reply to the lawyer, and I can't reply to the lawyer because I have no minutes left. I find that very unfair, and it's done on purpose. You guys are having meetings with the contaminated property, even more disgusting, zero integrity. EDO members, some of them, they want to follow Sam Joshi's election promise. Other people, they want to go with whatever. I'm going to tell you this. We have enough property behind Thomas Jefferson Middle School to use that property. So now you want to, the Stelton has all asbestos. That's probably why no one's using it right now. It's completely, I want an email with all the BOE members who are trying to utilize the Stelton and Kilmore properties, contaminated properties, to build the school on. Absolutely disgusting. Didn't you just buy a property to build a school on? Didn't you just purchase how many million to buy a school, yet we're still going back to the contaminated property? The residents need to see what's going on. If you do purchase Stelton, which we're never going to use it, are you going to take on the bills for Stelton? Is the Board of Education going to take on the bills for Stelton? As far as I'm concerned, we all know you have to dismantle the whole building. If you don't know that, you're stupid. The whole place is done. What were you going to do, remediate the asbestos and then use the same building again? Was that the plan? I'd like to know that one. And the Stelton site, well, 1 minute, I want to talk about B-Row. Burrell, you mentioned a drug to give to the kids. You're not the parent. I heard one of the teachers come up here saying, oh, that somewhat the teachers know better than the parents. Sometimes you got to ignore the parents. Absolutely disgusting. Burrell Patel, they gave you, they memorialized you for getting people vaccines. Absolutely disgusting when we don't even know if it even works, what the repercussions are going to be. But now you're saying let's give it, let's promote it to the children. The children are not even at risk. That's number one. Number two, absolutely disgusting. Burrell Patel, I view you as a drug dealer. Okay, I'm never going to memorialize you for going around giving people the coronavirus vaccine. You are not a doctor. You are not in anything, in any medical field. The last time we memorialized you was when, I guess you shoveled some snow, and even the town council recognized you for that. I know children in neighborhoods all around New Jersey that go around shoveling snow. Are we memorializing them? Why does the EDO always choose to promote you? I find that kind of strange. They're promoting you for a reason. So at the end of the day, like I said earlier, I'm gonna come back up here in my rebuttal, but the reason why you were chosen is because Mohan Patel and Jerry Shee thought you were the most manipulative. They could manipulate you the most, they can control you the most. That's why they got you and not me. I'll be back up for my rebuttal.
Thank you. First, this is called public comments, not public conversation. So we respect you. We'll give you 6 minutes, so we don't have a conversation back and forth, all right? So you know the drill. You've been here multiple times, so let's just keep that way, all right? You come to the meeting, you follow the rule. Dr. Bragan, you want to address any of the comments?
Yeah, sure. Regarding the leadership and wearing the mask and the mask mandate is for schools when schools are in session. School's not in session. This is a public board meeting. We don't have to adhere to the 6 feet social distance parameters. That's not what was outlined in the Executive Order 251. When school is in session, and when we do go to the schools, when I do visit the classrooms, which I will do on a regular basis as I always have, I will wear a mask and I will comply. To somehow assert that we're not modeling the appropriate leadership because we're not doing it outside those parameters, in my mind, is flawed logic, respectfully. The next one was the question I think Christo asked, would I follow the governor's recommendation or mandate if he told me I was not to allow Armenians to attend public school? And here's how I would weigh decisions, and I mean this sincerely. The Board of Education has charged me to implement the rules, the policies, and procedures of the Edison Township Public Schools with the expectation that I'm going to adhere to the legal parameters outlined in the administrative code and the executive orders from the governor. If at some point I feel I can no longer do that, I would respectfully to this board submit my resignation. And if that's how strongly I felt regarding not allowing Armenians to be in the school, that's what I would do, rather than jeopardize the school district's capacity to get the state aid, which, although it's 15% or so of our budget, is significant. So that's how I would answer that other question. As far as calling the board on myself stupid, I've been called that before by probably many people, and regarding buying buildings that are not cleared for school use. And if we were able to secure some of those properties, I assure everyone in this Board of Education, no students would enter any of those buildings unless they met with all the approvals that were required by the DOE, as well as our own expectations for security, safety, and well-being of our children. And if they were appropriate and we got them up to speed and up to use, they would help ease our overcrowding and do some of the things in our long-range plans that we're putting together, such as full-day kindergarten. I think that's all I got on that one.
Okay. You know, we did talk about the other building, which is in the process of buying, and it's also mentioned in the meeting minutes that we're looking for a property on the south side so we can implement the full-day kindergartens. And we even last meeting, we talked about possibly a pre-K. So that's why we're looking for a property on the south side. On the north side, excuse me, no back and forth, all right? So we have a property on the north side, which is across from Menlo Park, and we're pursuing that. We've been updating everyone almost every meeting. So that's as simple as that. So you want to address some of the stuff?
Sure.
Yeah.
And
by the way, the attorney's name is Mr. Shadanian. Mr. Shadanian. All right?
Christo, you can even call me John if it makes you happy, all right? So what I'm going to tell you is that a lot of things you can say. I don't appreciate the ethnic baiting that you engage in with me about the fact that I'm Armenian. I think it's inappropriate. I think it's disgusting to use the term that you like to use all the time, and I think you should be ashamed of yourself for doing that in public, and you should apologize to me after the meeting's over, personally. Second thing is the case law that I cite to you is from the United States Supreme Court, and if you took the time to read it between when I spoke before and when you spoke, you would have read and you would have seen that it was a case involving a smallpox vaccine, like I said, and the U.S. Supreme Court in 1905 said if there is a public health emergency, which was declared not only in New Jersey but also across the entire country, the governments, various governments, meaning the federal government, the state governments, they have the right to mandate vaccination for all persons. All right, that's to protect what they call the public health, safety, and welfare. And if you can't understand that, we should have a discussion afterwards about why that is, all right? People need to be protected. The government makes that decision. People are elected to run this country. They're elected to run this school board, but the people on this school board aren't making the decision about the vaccination. So you're taking up your issue in the wrong place. That's what I'm trying to say to you. This is the wrong forum for what you're trying to vent. If you have a problem with the vaccination mandates, go to Trenton, go to Washington. The board members up here only have to follow the mandates of the Department of Education of the state of New Jersey. And I understand you're trying to make a spectacle and you're trying to embarrass people, but that's really inappropriate. And it's time that you stop doing that.
Excuse me? Excuse me? I'm gonna have you removed if you continue to do this. All right? Excuse me? All right. Do we have a security today? All right. Okay. All right. Yes. Venkat. Yeah, I'll call her. Yeah.
Venkat Bandi. I think I would like to, in 2 weeks we have school. Jerry, I think kids are very excited. I would like to take a step back of the last year. I think I would like to commend superintendent and his staff for actually starting with remote, moving back to hybrid, then back to remote. It's not an easy job. I think we should commend the entire administrative staff and school teachers, nurses, everybody for making a wonderful year. And we often try to bring the negativism, even in fact I still bring one negative thing, but overall, I think I'm impressed the way that Edison, as a township schools, the way they conducted themselves, and the kids, the way that they actually went through. I'm not saying that 100%, there may be 5% of the people that are not happy, but I personally interacted with a lot of high schoolers. I think the proof of the pudding is there are 5 military academy placements, and a lot of kids are going this 20th to the schools, top schools. I think they're extremely happy, and I thank the entire staff and the administration on behalf of at least some of the parents that I have.
Thank you.
And the second thing that I would like to thank you for bringing, at least considering that resolution. I know that governor may or may not approve it, but you guys are doing your duty to give an option to the parents. I think I truly thank you for actually considering that resolution and trying to put a request. It's at the mercy of Mr. Murphy, so be it. The third thing is this board, if you really look at it, has done good or bad. I think they have been functioning very well. You guys has brought many changes. You guys brought some insurance bill. I'm not here to talk good or bad, which is a big thing. And even the bigger thing is the food vendor change. I think I'm hearing personally that there are lots of good feedback about the quality of the food that has been delivered and the kind of feedback that was received, and trying to put maximum 1 or 2 minutes, the food is in the trunk. I never enrolled into it after seeing some of the complaints that I enrolled 3-4 weeks back, and it has been fantastic. And another thing that I would like to specially recognize the curriculum committee for actually introducing the honors. At least a couple of hundred parents are extremely happy that 5th to 6th, 6th to 6th, or 8th to 9th, a lot of parents got into honors. I think that you guys has done an exceptional job. And the APs, that a lot of people are able to get the APs. I think thanks to the curriculum committee, I know Shannon, Shivi, and Moin, and others were there. And the AP scores were really good, except those chemistry and bio, where the labs are needed. Otherwise, most of the people, even in toughest US history, they got 5 out of 5. I think that also, I think you guys need to recognize those teachers who really worked hard to help the kids to pass the APs as well. I think we cannot take away anything from the teachers on that front. So having said this, I think, you guys has done, good or bad, functioned very well, has taken the feedback positively, and sometimes the parent help desk is an exceptional thing, and I also heard that some of the other schools wanted to copy some of our stuff. I think it's a great one. So some of the teachers in jobs that I see, especially Mr. Daniel Kelly, is even super fast than your help desk. So some of the vice principals, Mr. Ross and Mr. JPS principal, they've been extremely good in responding. And nonetheless, I don't know how, should I say, Dr. Bragan get his time. I think his SLA has also been great. We are encouraging a lot of parents to reach out to him, especially when there is no technology, help desk is not responding because kids has to do it. So I think overall it's a positive thing. The only negative thing that I would bring, I think Mr. Biral Patel, I'm coming back to you. You begged me for my support and I supported you instead of Christo and a lot of other people. And I regret that decision. The reason for that is you are throwing empty threats of suing individual parents and especially me. And I'm telling you that if you make those empty threats, you may be connecting with Murphy, you may be knowing the assemblyman, you may be thinking that you're a big guy. Guess what? Develop thick skin. You are in the political arena, you better develop the thick skin and not threatening or throwing in empty threats. I'm not here to bend for your empty threats. I'm going to come here and expose you day in and day out. I made a biggest mistake of supporting you and I went back not coming here. Don't ever call my friends and say that, oh, Venkata has to be careful that otherwise I'm going to throw a legal issue. Stop it, otherwise you're getting one from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Joyce.
Good evening. I'll start with letting you know that I'm not political. That's why some of this stuff is starting to get on my nerves. I know I'm in the political arena, but I'm an educator first. And speaking of overcrowding schools, I think that I can speak about it because I actually was on split session in the 7th grade. So I kind of know what it does to you. And crossing guards, when I was discussing crossing guards during our meeting, because I am the liaison committee from the board, from the council that meets with the Board of Ed. You wouldn't know that I was the liaison on there, and I'm in charge of the other two guys in front of me. The principal, a principal of a school happens to be the council president, so he thought I would be a good fit for it. I discussed crossing guard for a while, debating with another individual during our meeting about how the word volunteer does not mean you have to do something. You can't be made to do something. The word volunteer itself means volunteer. Then a couple of people were calling and saying that I was self-serving because I didn't want to get into the politicization of the Stelton School. I myself have been a teacher for the longest, and I know that in that section of town, I want more study on it because H-Mart did not exist years ago. So it was 2 tons of traffic there. And I know that the building, I worked for recreation before too. I know the building is filled with a whole lot of asbestos, and I do not at any time whatsoever, I don't care who all votes for it, I will not ever put children in a risky situation that might hurt them. I will not do that at all, just to get political points at all. And what I did like before, prior to, I guess, 2017, the Board of Education was not political. It actually was a governing body with a vision that stopped all the bickering and stuff and put all of our children first and not did anything for political gain. And I'm not talking, the one thing I'm not gonna speak on too much is about the vaccination, because I am very, very sad that it has become political. When I attended the College of New Jersey, it was Trenton State College at the time, 2 people had passed away from meningitis. Every single one of us at the college lined up, and we got our shots then. There was nothing political about it, because it was about saving the people on campus. And all of these things that have become too political is really getting on my nerves, because I would rather see people sit down together, discuss issues, and move forward. I don't want to rush and give anybody any contaminated properties. I don't want to rush and give anybody anything that might be in a dangerous situation. Because believe it or not, the school bus in Edison lost my daughter when she was 4 years old in James Madison, okay? That was like the worst day of my life. So when I'm thinking about putting 4 and 5-year-olds someplace, believe me, it's from my heart that I worry about other people's children. So I'm not gonna play the politics of it. I'm not gonna jump because somebody tells me to jump. I'm gonna look thoroughly at every situation before I vote on it. I don't care if I'm one by myself and 6 people vote differently. I am not the politician. I guess I'll be an educator until the day I die. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board President, can I
Yes.
respond to that?
Yes, please.
Ms. Schiff Freeman, I do appreciate your educator perspective. I don't understand how not supporting the transfer of the Stelton School is any way, in any shape or form, putting education first. That building turned. You did in other places. And if some allusion,
there's no back and
some
forth,
allusion
please.
to a traffic pattern because of the H Mart being there is flawed logic as well. Because before there was H Mart, there was Tops. And before there was Tops, there was Grants. And that traffic from the H Mart is no greater than either one of those stores. I'm not saying traffic hasn't increased in this town, it has. That's due to a number of homes that have been put on properties that in the past weren't developed. But H Mart, come on now.
Thank you. Yeah. 3 minutes.
I'm very disgusted. When I went to go sit down, resident all my life, I went to these schools. I can surely tell you, the lawyer's not from out here. The lawyer doesn't pay taxes out here. Has no children in the school district, so I really like to know what he gets out of shaming members of the public, which it's not a real shaming. You shamed yourself by doing so because you tried to insinuate something, again, racist happened, that never happened. I have a problem when you people say you will follow any order. That's what the Nazis did. I gave an example. I could have used Greeks as an example. I didn't. I used Armenians. And I did that in a sense because you cannot ban a certain ethnic group from coming to school. So, you know, how can you ban or section vaccinated, unvaccinated? You did have that on the agenda. I was just trying to prove a point. You said that you'll follow the governor's orders at any time. So I was trying to ask, would you even do that if he asked to say no Latino kids in public schools, no Greeks in public schools? What the lawyer did, I can't, I'll go back to hear what you said, everything you said, every point you made, so I can come back at the next meeting and completely shame you. What you did, it was really scumbag material, what you did. I come to all the meetings, not just the Board of Education. Even Lawyer Northgrave doesn't go to the extent. I mean, you all see the council meeting. Lawyer Northgrave's a little bit tough, but he would never have went to the extent. I hope Board of Education members speak to the lawyer after this meeting, how he speaks to members of the public. Nobody called anyone up here stupid. I don't believe I called anyone up there stupid. I do think it's stupid when teachers go around saying that they know better than the parents themselves, so we should overrule the parents. That's very satanic. That's this new age that's coming out. These politicals, they know better than the family unit. They know better than the parents. They want to actually remove completely the family unit, and they want the government to take over their children. Absolutely disgusted. I should curse you off, lawyer, but I'm not going to. Unlike you, I have integrity. If I ended up cursing you now, they're just going to say, oh, you know, the lawyer was right. But absolutely disgusting. Bir al-Shibi, are you going to say to him something after this meeting? No, you won't say nothing to him after this meeting because it's me, right?
Time's up.
It doesn't fit in your political agenda
Sit down,
to do so?
sit down. Okay? Please, yeah, just leave. Yeah. Stop, watch your language. Watch your language. Get him out. Out. You curse? Get out. You're out. Wow, what a... I have no words for that, so. Okay, yeah, Joyce. Second time.
Your Ship Freeman with a clarification. I never said I would not at any time whatsoever give you the building. I said there were reasons before you get the building, before it gets cleaned up and the different things that needed to be done. So I want that made clear. I never said you would never get the building.
Thank you. So, talking about cleaning up, let the board handle it. And we know there are asbestos there. And as Dr. Bragan said, we're not going to put any children if we don't think that's safe. And I think everyone on the board will think exactly the same thing. Let the board handle it. We have architects, we have experts to look into what we need to do. If it works out, it works out. It doesn't work out, we'll have other plans. So, as I said before, and it's said in multiple meeting minutes, we need a location on the south side to have full-day kindergarten and possibly pre-K. And the Stoughton School is a perfect location. And it was a school. We gave it to the township, right? So let's have it back and work out what we need to do and make it probably the safest building in the district. We're not going to put our kids under any harm's way. We're not putting any kids under contaminated land. We're not going to put any kids into the contaminated building. So that's my comment. All right? Do I have any other public comments? Yes.
Good evening. I just wanted to ask a question because I want to make sure I understood it because I may be wrong. For Stoughton School, were you looking at for just to be pre-K or is it going to be pre-K and kindergarten?
Any other questions?
My understanding was just going to be a pre-K building, and I know there's guidelines for preschool facilities. I know there was a discussion on Facebook, and we talked about it. So I just wanted to confirm, is that just pre-K or pre-K kindergarten? And then how many classrooms, the whole building is going to have to get demolished and redone over probably. How many classrooms are you looking to put there for pre-K, if it is pre-K? Or how many classrooms are you going to put there if it's pre-K and K? I was just confused. I don't know what the building was actually going to be used for. The other thing I want to say is you guys got a real tough job. Like I sit here and I watch and sometimes I feel bad for you. I know you guys are doing your best to make decisions to move this district forward. Dr. Bragan, I know as the superintendent, you got 2 weeks to plan this stuff. I know you're getting these tough questions regarding how is it opening. And it's just concerned parents. Like I'm also one of those concerned parents as well. And I'm dealing with the same situation you're kind of dealing where I'm at. So I think a lot of it is just, they're curious. They just want to know what's going on because we start in 2 to 3 weeks. So again, just had the questions about the Stoughton School. What is it going to be used for? What's your mission? What's your vision for that? And good luck with opening day of school. Teachers, students, I hope you have a great time as well. Returning back to schools, I think we all need some type of normal.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can answer.
You want to? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You know, what we need is probably 40 more classrooms or thereabouts on both sides of towns to make full-day kindergarten a possibility. The logistics on what schools will be designated what, that's a decision we have to make with the board and talk about it as we go through, the actual logistics of putting it together. It may not make sense to have a dedicated full kindergarten and preschool with all the busing costs the kids would have to come. So once we get the properties, we'll have to assess what classroom space would be appropriate for those. As Mr. Shi said, we're looking at that property in the north side by Menlo Park Elementary School. This would be one on the south side that could be part of the overall plan to restructure it. So we don't have the specifics right now, Mr. Rivera, but without having access to the property, getting in there, seeing what it would cost, our request as the board to the town council was it was supposed to be on the agenda tomorrow night. I don't know that. The town council operates independently than the board.
Next week.
Next week, whenever that meeting would be, there'd be a vote. And then if they turned it over to the board, we would assess the property. What could we use it for? How much would it cost? We know that building has been neglected at some point, and there's a great deal of renovation that would take place. We know there's a Rossi issue there, registered open space thing that we have to work around. We know there's also a historical perspective that we couldn't change the front of the building and the facade. We know all that, but we'd like to get in and take a look and see what we could do, and maybe that's part of the solution. Maybe it's not, but right now we don't even have the option to explore it, so.
The goal of the board is to bring back the full-day kindergarten, and we have mentioned multiple times in this forum that the kindergarten program could possibly pay for itself, so it's not having a taxpayer's burden. And if there is a possibility to put pre-K, and there, as an educator, there are a lot of grants available, that it could possibly also sustain itself. We don't have to have a burden to taxpayers. And as an educator, there are a lot of benefits of starting the kids early. As far as exactly how we're going to use the Stelton School, if we have it and if we build it, are we going to use it as a separate elementary school? Or are we going to use as a full day, just for full day kindergarten or pre-K? We don't know that decision yet, right? As Dr. Bragan said, we have to look at the student population. We're going to go look at our projection, how many classrooms we'll need. And maybe it's a separate elementary school, so we can do a little bit of reshuffling about the students in the other schools to open up the room to have the full day in the other schools. So all of this is just talk. The whole goal is to bring the full day kindergarten back and looking for possibility to put pre-K. So that's what it is. There's no decisions been made. But let's get the school first. Let's look at it. We have architects that has expertise. We have, land use expert, lawyers. They can look into all of this and give it to us, and we'll take it, next step. All right. Do we have any other public comments? See none. Can I have a motion to close the public session? Okay. Shivi, do I have a second? Okay, Mrs. White, Mrs. Maruka, and Mrs. White. All right. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Okay.
The resolution. What resolution? The resolution that you made to amend the original thing.
We already did.
You voted on that?
We already voted.
Okay.
You already voted. Huh? So, yeah, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Okay.
Can I just say something real
Yes,
quick?
go ahead.
Mr. Ross, if you could do a favor for me. I started getting involved in the Board of Ed many, many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And my first thing that upset me the most was there was a $29,000 line item for clock repair. Off the top of my head, I don't know what we pay this year, but that clock does not work. So if you could look into that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
It's not 10 to 8?
No, and it hasn't been for quite a while.
And I was really happy about it being.
I wish that's the correct time, so. All right, with that said, all in favor for the adjournment of the meeting? Aye. Aye, okay. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.